I've always been the kind of person who doesn't scare easily. I don't believe in ghosts, spirits, or anything paranormal. If something strange happens, there's always a logical explanation. At least, that's what I used to think, until a few weeks ago. My cousin asked me to stay at his apartment while he traveled for work. It was nothing unusual. He lived alone on the third floor of an older building, quiet neighborhood. Nothing creepy about it. I agreed because I needed a change of scenery anyway. The first night was completely normal. I ordered food, watched some random shows, and ended up falling asleep on the couch around midnight. I don't know what time it was exactly when I woke up, but something felt off immediately. It wasn't a noise that woke me. It was that strange feeling, like something isn't right. The apartment was completely silent. Too silent, I stayed still for a moment, listening. No cars outside, no neighbors, nothing. Then I heard it, a soft tap. I sat up slowly. My eyes locked on the dark hallway leading to the bedroom. Another tap. This time, I was sure of where it came from. The hallway. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. My heart wasn't racing yet, but I could feel the tension building. I stood up and started walking toward the hallway, trying to convince myself it was just pipes or the building settling. Tap, tap, tap. 3 times. I stopped walking. That wasn't random. That sounded deliberate. I swallowed and kept moving forward. The light from my phone barely lit up the hallway, but it was enough for me to see the bedroom door. It was slightly open. I froze. I clearly remembered closing that door earlier. I even pushed it shut because I didn't like staring into a dark room from the living room. I told myself I probably didn't close it all the way. That had to be it. I walked up to the door and pushed it open slowly. Nothing? The room looked exactly the same. Bed untouched, closet closed, window shut. No movement. I let out a small breath, feeling a bit stupid. I turned around to go back to the living room. Tap, right behind me. I spun around instantly, shining the light everywhere. Under the bed, inside the closet, behind the curtains. Nothing. But something felt wrong. The air felt colder than the rest of the apartment. Not freezing, just heavy. Like the temperature dropped slightly for no reason. I backed out of the room slowly and went straight back to the living room. This time, I didn't turn off any lights. I stayed awake for the rest of the night, telling myself it was just an old building making noises. That's what I believed. At least, that's what I wanted to believe. But the second night proved me wrong. I didn't plan on staying another night. After what happened, I told myself I was overreacting. Old buildings make noise. That's normal. Pipes, wood, air pressure. There's always an explanation. I even felt a little embarrassed thinking about how paranoid I got. So I stayed. The second night started off normal again. I kept all the lights on this time, just in case. I stayed up later than usual, watching random videos and trying not to think about the night before. Eventually, exhaustion hit me, and I fell asleep on the couch again. I woke up suddenly. This time, I knew exactly why. There was a sound, not tapping. Something worse. It sounded like movement, slow. Uneven footsteps coming from the hallway. Step, drag, step, drag. My entire body went stiff. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. The sound was too clear to ignore. It wasn't pipes, it wasn't the building. It sounded like someone was walking, but struggling, like they were dragging one leg behind them. Step, drag, step, drag. It was getting closer, closer to the living room. I felt my chest tightening, my heartbeat pounding so loud I thought it might give me away. I stared at the hallway. expecting to see something appear in the darkness. The footsteps stopped, right at the edge of the hallway. Silence. I waited. 1 second, 5 seconds, a full minute. Nothing. I slowly reached for my phone, my hand shaking, and turned on the flashlight again. I stood up carefully, every instinct screaming at me to stay where I was. But I needed to see. I took one step forward, then another. The closer I got to the hallway, the colder the air felt. It was the same feeling from the bedroom the night before, but stronger this time. It felt heavy, like I was walking into something I wasn't supposed to. I reached the hallway and pointed the light down it, empty, completely empty. I let out a shaky breath, trying to calm myself down. "This is stupid," I whispered to myself. I took another step forward, and then I heard it, right next to my ear, a whisper. Soft, clear, close. "You shouldn't be here." I froze, my entire body locked in place. I could feel the breath of it, whatever it was, right against my ear. I turned my head slowly. Nothing. No one. The hallway was empty. The apartment was silent again. But I wasn't alone. I knew that now. I backed away slowly, my eyes locked on the hallway, like something might come running out at any second. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped my phone. And then, from the bedroom, creak. The sound of the bed moving, not settling, moving. Like something heavy had just shifted its weight on it. That was it. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I turned and ran. I grabbed my keys, didn't even bother with my phone charger or anything else, and rushed out of the apartment. I didn't lock the door. I didn't look back. I just needed to get out. I spent the rest of the night sitting in my car, trying to make sense of what just happened. But the truth is, there was no explanation. And what scared me the most? I knew something was still inside that apartment. I didn't go back the next day, or the day after that. I kept telling myself I would return just to grab my things. But every time I even thought about walking back into that apartment, my chest tightened. That whisper. It didn't feel like my imagination. It felt real, too real. 2 days later, my cousin called me. At first, everything sounded normal. He asked how things were, why I left early, if everything was okay. I tried to keep it casual. I told him I just wasn't feeling well and decided to head home. There was a pause on the line. Then he asked something that made my stomach drop. "Hey, did you move anything in the bedroom?" I stayed quiet for a second. "No," I said. "Why?" Another pause. Longer this time. Then he said, "That's weird." I could hear it in his voice. He wasn't joking. "The bed," he continued slowly. "It's not against the wall anymore. It's pulled out, like halfway into the middle of the room." I felt a chill run through my entire body. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. He went on, trying to laugh it off. Maybe I forgot how I left it or something. I don't know, just thought I'd ask. I forced a small laugh, but my mind was racing. I remembered the sound, that creak, like something heavy shifting on the bed. I never told him what happened. I couldn't, but later that night, things got even worse. I was lying in my own bed, finally starting to calm down after everything. For the first time in days, I felt safe. My doors were locked, my windows were shut. I was home. Then my phone buzzed, a message. From my cousin. It was just one line. "Did you come back here?" My heart started pounding. "No, why?" I replied instantly. A few seconds passed. Then he sent me a picture. It was the bedroom. The lights were off, but you could still see enough. The bed was back against the wall, exactly how it was before I ever stayed there. But that's not what made my blood run cold. It was the shape on the bed, a dark figure, lying there under the blanket, like someone was sleeping. I stared at the photo, trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was shadows. Maybe it was the lighting. That's what I told myself. Until he sent another message. I'm in the living room, and I can hear breathing coming from the bedroom. I tried calling him immediately. No answer. I called again and again. Nothing. About 10 minutes later, he finally called me back. He sounded different. Quiet. Shaken. I asked him what happened. He said he went to check the bedroom, slowly opened the door, turned on the light, and there was nothing there. No one. The bed was empty, perfectly still. But he swears the blanket was slightly raised, like something had just been there seconds before. He doesn't talk about it anymore, and neither do I. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I wake up for no reason, and I feel it again, that same heavy cold air. And every time, right before I fall back asleep, I hear it, a whisper, soft, close. You came back. I've never been someone who gets paranoid easily. I don't jump at shadows, and I definitely don't believe in anything supernatural. I like explanations, real ones. So when this happened, I did everything I could to convince myself there was a logical reason behind it. I moved into a new apartment about 3 months ago. Nothing fancy, just a small place on the 4th floor of an older building. It was cheap, quiet, and close to work. The kind of place you don't think twice about. The first few weeks were completely normal. No strange noises, no weird neighbors. Just a routine life, until one night, I heard something. It was around 1:40 a.m. I remember checking my phone because the sound woke me up. At first, I thought it was part of a dream, but then I heard it again. A soft clicking noise, like something tapping against glass. I sat up in bed and listened. Click, click, click. It was faint, but consistent. I looked toward the window. My apartment faces a narrow alley, and at night, it's completely dark out there. No streetlights, nothing. Just black. The sound was definitely coming from the window. I won't lie, that made me uneasy. But I still tried to stay rational. Maybe a loose branch. Maybe something hitting the glass from the wind. I got out of bed and slowly walked closer. The closer I got, the clearer the sound became. Click, click, click. It wasn't random. It had a rhythm. I reached the window and stood there for a second, staring at my own reflection in the glass. I couldn't see anything outside. Just darkness. I hesitated. Then I pulled the curtain open. Nothing. Just the empty alley. No branches, no objects, no movement. The sound stopped immediately. That should have been the end of it. I even laughed a little, thinking I freaked myself out over nothing. I went back to bed and eventually fell asleep. The next night, it happened again. Same time. 1:40 a.m. Same sound. Click, click, click. But this time, I didn't get up right away. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening. It went on for almost a full minute. Then suddenly, it stopped. I waited. Silence. I grabbed my phone and checked the time again. 1:41 a.m. I was about to put my phone down when I heard something else. A soft scrape. Not from the window, from inside the room. I slowly turned my head toward the door, and that's when I noticed it. The door was slightly open. I always close it before I sleep. Always. I sat up slowly, my eyes locked on that small gap. I don't know why. but I felt like something was standing on the other side, watching, waiting. I stayed completely still. Then, very slowly, the door creaked open just a little more. Not wide, just enough to make the gap bigger. I couldn't see anything in the hallway. It was too dark. But I knew. Something was there, and it was looking at me. I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat there, staring at the door until morning. And that's when I noticed something that made everything worse. On the inside of the glass window, there were marks. 3 small, greasy fingerprints. From the outside. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not the fingerprints, not the door, not the clicking sound, because deep down, I was still trying to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe there was some weird explanation I wasn't seeing yet. So I stayed. The next night, I decided to test it. I closed the bedroom door tightly. This time, I even pushed a chair under the handle so it couldn't open easily. I checked the window, locked it, and wiped the glass clean. No marks, nothing. I turned off the lights and laid down, staring at my phone. 1:38 a.m. 1:39 a.m. My chest started to feel tight without any real reason. 1:40 a.m. Click, click, click. It started again, louder this time, closer. I didn't move. I just listened. Click, click, click. The sound was definitely coming from the window again, but something felt different. It wasn't just a sound anymore. It felt intentional, like whatever was making it knew I was awake. I slowly turned my head toward the window. The curtain was closed, but I could see something, a shape, very faint. But there, something was blocking a small part of the curtain from the outside, like someone, or something, was standing right up against the glass. My throat went dry. I wanted to get up and check, but I couldn't move. Click, click. The tapping slowed down, then it stopped completely. Silence filled the room again. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then suddenly, bang! Something hit the window hard. I jumped up instantly, my heart pounding like crazy. The curtain shook slightly, then went still. I backed away from the bed, my eyes locked on the window. I didn't open the curtain this time. I couldn't. Instead, I turned toward the door. The chair was still there, exactly where I left it. But the door was shaking, very slightly, like someone was trying to push it open from the other side. My stomach dropped. That made no sense. There was no way anyone could be inside. No one had a key. The shaking stopped, and then a slow, quiet sound, the handle moving, very gently, trying not to make noise. I watched in complete horror as the handle pressed down slightly, then stopped. Then again, like whoever was on the other side was testing it, trying to figure out why it wouldn't open. I backed up until I hit the wall behind me. I didn't dare make a sound, and then I heard it. A whisper. Not from the door, from the window, right behind the curtain. Soft, almost playful. "I can see you." I froze. My entire body went cold. It knew exactly where I was. The room felt smaller, heavier, like the walls were closing in. I stood there, trapped between the door and the window, not knowing which one was worse. And then both sounds stopped, completely. No tapping, no door handle, nothing. Just silence again. I stayed awake the entire night, not moving, not sleeping, waiting for something else to happen. But nothing did, until morning. And when the sun finally came up, I made a mistake. I looked at the window. The curtain was still closed. But this time, There was a handprint, pressed from the inside. I didn't leave right away. Looking back, I should have. But when the sun came up, everything felt normal again. The fear from the night before didn't disappear, but it felt distant, unreal, like something my mind exaggerated in the dark. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. There always is. So I walked over to the window, slowly, carefully. My eyes were locked on that handprint. It was still there, clear, defined, pressed from the inside. I hadn't touched the glass. I knew that for a fact. My hands were shaking as I reached out and placed my hand over it. It didn't match. The fingers were longer, thinner, slightly off. I pulled my hand away immediately. That's when I noticed something else. Below the handprint, there were faint marks, like something had been dragged across the glass, from the bottom, upward, as if someone had slowly raised their hand from inside the room. My chest tightened. "No," I whispered to myself. "That's not possible." I stepped back, trying to think, trying to breathe. Then I heard it, a soft sound behind me. From the door, I turned slowly. The chair had moved, just a little. Not knocked over, not pushed away, just slightly out of place, like something had nudged it from the other side. My stomach dropped. I hadn't heard the door open. I hadn't heard anything. But I knew. I wasn't alone anymore. I didn't wait. I grabbed my keys and ran out of the apartment. This time, I didn't look back. I didn't pack anything. I didn't even lock the door. I just left. I spent the next few days staying at a friend's place, trying to figure out what to do. Eventually, I went back, but not alone. I brought 2 friends with me in the middle of the day. Everything looked normal. Too normal. The window was clean. No handprint, no marks. The chair was exactly where I had placed it the night before, like nothing had ever happened. My friends laughed it off, said I probably imagined it. I wanted to believe them. I really did. So I packed my things and moved out that same day. I never went back. A week later, I got a call from the building manager. He sounded confused. He asked me if I had left anything behind. I told him no. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Are you sure?" I asked him why. There was a pause. Then he said, "Because the new tenant called this morning, saying there's someone already inside the apartment." I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean?" I asked. Another pause. Then, quietly, he said he woke up at exactly 1:40 a.m. to the sound of tapping on the window. I couldn't speak. The manager continued, and when he checked, he said there was a handprint on the glass. I closed my eyes, trying not to think about it, trying not to picture it. But then he said one last thing, something I still can't get out of my head. He also said, "The bedroom door was already open." I never told anyone about the exact time. I never told anyone about the door, so tell me this. If it wasn't me, then how did it know to do the same thing again? I used to think elevators were the safest places in a building. Simple, predictable. You press a button, doors close. You go up or down. That's it. Nothing complicated. Nothing to be afraid of. That changed about a month ago. I work late shifts, so I usually get home around 2 a.m. My apartment is on the 9th floor of a fairly quiet building. Not many people are up at that hour, which I actually liked. That night felt normal. I parked, walked into the building, and headed straight for the elevator. The lobby was empty, completely silent except for the faint hum of the lights. I pressed the button. The elevator arrived almost instantly. The doors slid open. Empty. I stepped inside, pressed 9, and leaned back against the wall. The doors closed slowly, and the elevator started moving up. Everything felt normal. At first, we passed the second floor, third, fourth. Then suddenly, the elevator stopped. Hard. The lights flickered once, then stayed on. I looked up at the panel. We were between floors. I sighed, slightly annoyed more than anything. Old building. Stuff like this happens. I pressed the door open button. Nothing. I pressed it again. Still nothing. Of course, I muttered under my breath. I reached for the emergency button, but before I could press it, the elevator started moving again, but not up, down, slowly, very slowly. My stomach tightened. I looked at the panel again. We weren't going to any floor. There was no number lit up. The elevator just kept descending. Floor 4, 3, 2, 1. Then it kept going, below the first floor. That didn't make sense. There's no basement level in this building, at least, not one that residents can access. The elevator finally stopped. The number display was blank. No floor number. Nothing. For a few seconds, everything was completely silent. Then, ding. The doors slid open, but it wasn't the lobby. It wasn't anything I recognized. It was a long, dim hallway. The lights above flickered slightly, casting shadows that stretched too far along the walls. The paint looked old, peeling in places. And the air, even from inside the elevator, I could feel it, cold. Unnaturally cold. I didn't step out. I just stood there, staring. This isn't real, I whispered to myself. The hallway didn't look like it belonged in the building at all. It looked abandoned, like no one had been there for years. The doors stayed open, waiting. I should have pressed the close button. I should have stayed inside. But for some reason, I stepped out the moment my foot touched the floor. The elevator doors slammed shut behind me. I spun around instantly. No! I hit the button repeatedly. Nothing. The elevator didn't respond. It didn't open. It didn't move. It was gone. Just a blank metal door in front of me, and behind me. That hallway. That's when I heard it. A distant sound. Somewhere deep down the corridor. Footsteps. Slow. Echoing. Getting closer. I wasn't alone down there. And whatever was coming, it knew I was there. I didn't move at first. I just stood there, staring down that long, dim hallway, listening to the sound of footsteps echoing toward me. Slow, heavy, unnatural. They didn't sound like normal footsteps. There was something off about them. The rhythm wasn't right. It was like step, pause, step, step, drag. My heart started pounding. I turned back to the elevator and pressed the button again. Nothing. I hit it harder. Still nothing. Come on. Come on, I whispered. The footsteps were getting closer. I could hear them clearer now. Step, drag, step, drag. I backed away from the elevator door without even realizing it. Every instinct in my body was telling me the same thing. Don't let it see you. I turned and started walking down the hallway in the opposite direction. Not running, just walking quickly, trying not to make noise. The lights above flickered as I passed under them. Some of them buzzed. Some of them were completely off. The further I went, the colder it got. My breath started to show in the air. That's when I noticed the doors. Old apartment doors lined both sides of the hallway. All of them slightly open, not wide, just enough to leave a thin black gap, like something inside was watching. I tried not to look. I kept walking. The footsteps behind me suddenly stopped. Completely. Silence filled the hallway again. That was worse. Much worse. I stopped too. Slowly. I turned my head. The hallway behind me was empty. No one there, nothing. Just flickering lights and half-open doors. I let out a shaky breath, and that's when I heard it. A voice. Right next to one of the doors. Soft. Almost a whisper. "Why did you come down here?" I froze. The voice sounded close. Too close. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Another voice came from a different door. This one sounded wrong. Like multiple voices trying to speak at once. "You're not supposed to be here." The doors. They started moving. Very slowly. Creak. Opening just a little wider. My chest tightened. I backed away, step by step. Then, every door along the hallway slammed shut at the same time. Bang. The sound echoed so loudly it made my ears ring. And then, silence again. For a second, 2 seconds. Then all the doors, slowly, started opening again. At the same time, that's when I saw them. Shapes, standing in the darkness behind the doors. Tall, still, watching. I didn't wait. I turned and ran. I didn't care where I was going. I just ran. The hallway felt endless. No matter how far I ran, it didn't feel like I was getting closer to anything. Then suddenly, ding! I stopped. The elevator. The doors were open. Right in front of me. I don't know how. I don't know when it got there. But I didn't question it. I ran inside and hit the button repeatedly. The doors started closing. Slowly. Too slowly. As they were closing, I saw them. At the end of the hallway, all standing there. Perfectly still. Watching me. And just before the door shut completely, one of them moved. Fast. Too fast. Like it was rushing toward me. The doors slammed shut. The elevator jolted and started going up. Fast. Much faster than normal. I collapsed against the wall, trying to catch my breath. The numbers lit up again. 1, 2, 3. Like nothing ever happened. The elevator reached the lobby. Ding. The doors opened. Normal. Bright. Safe. I ran out immediately and didn't look back. I took the stairs that night and every night after. But here's the part I can't explain. A few days later, I checked the building directory. There is no basement level, no hidden floor, nothing. Just 9 floors. That's it. But sometimes, when I'm waiting for the elevator, I notice something. There's a button at the very bottom of the panel. No number on it, no label, just blank. And once, I swear, I saw it light up by itself.